I've seen
I have
both
a
sides.
hard
Yeah.
time believing in narcissistic people.
I swear to God they exist. I swear to God. I
Because
swear. I swear to God.
I'm guessing your argument feels sort of like because they're sort of it's quite the opposite. It's sort of like a deflection where they're actually insecure and they actually like
Yeah,
I feel like I'm so good because I want to sort of be this facade of of I don't know confidence
if
or
I
whatever.
show that I'm good, then other people will actually believe it.
Believe it.
Yeah.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like some people like portray it so
So well they believe
so
it.
well, and they start believing it. It's like, oh my God, this guy's amazing. And I tell him like, yo, why is this dude amazing? He's like, I don't know, man. It's just
Right.
his
It's just amazing,
his charisma. It's it's just amazing. But you gotta meet him. He's just amazing. And when I meet him, he's just like, God damn, he's just full of shit. It's the reality of it, man. Like you see people that like they like bust up their ego like way up. They shoot it up like with crack cocaine, their charisma and personality. And then next thing you know, you meet them and you're like, damn man, you ain't all that.
But I do believe in a sense that narcissism is very much like it does exist and sort of in a sense where like a lot of people have been just winning their entire life. That sort of Jake Paul, for example,
Oh my
where they're just like every single like they don't do nothing and then they
the
gain
Paul
like,
brothers, yeah.
well, like
Yeah.
Paul, like Logan, I like Logan. Logan is very much relatable in terms of like how he changed in that sense. But like Jake is
He
like, very
filmed
much
corpses, dude.
yeah, but he changed after that. After his L, he sort of changed and became more of a real person and acknowledged his mistake.
Who does that, man? Come on. Like even if 30 years passed and he changed, but come on.
I mean, to be fair though, I mean, like, so you don't forgive anyone at all. If someone does something bad,
there's levels for forgiveness, obviously.
I think you should be able to forgive anyone.
I mean, dude, the guy was literally filming people that committed suicide.
Yeah, I get that, but the thing is,
but I think the point that Daryl's making is just that
condemning them for
he's another person now.
Yeah.
It is. I completely agree with you guys. It is. There's always room for forgiveness. It's just very hard to do so.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation.
Granted, yes, I agree with that, but it's sort of like condemning one's mistake for like for ages is kind of like it's just being petty at this point. You know what I mean? Like if the person was still an asshole now, I'd be like, okay, fine, great, whatever. I'm with you on that. But like if the person's trying to change, like why not try giving them a chance at least?
Right.
But could you imagine if it's like it just happened to be something that's I don't even know if it's criminal or not, but like it just
it was legal because they weren't allowed to move past the trail. But
yeah. Well, I mean, if it was criminal. Like if it was an act of if it was a crime, it would be very much harder to forgive a crime. For example, like I'll tell you an example. For example, somebody hurt a very significant person in your life.
Yeah.
Let's just say, like
Sure.
for example,
Sure.
and they did it with intent. Like it's not an accident. Like they did it with they had an agenda behind it. Would you still be able to forgive them, or would you just?
Well, I mean, it sort of course, immediately it's impossible. I mean, unless you're
but it adds to the difficulty, but it does not make it impossible.
Yeah, but in the long term, you can. Like say like when you're old enough to like when you're very old, you just don't give a shit anymore. You're like, okay, fine, I understand you made a mistake.
I mean, if it's between friends, they're like, yeah, he tried to kill me.
No, I mean, like say imagine I shoot your brother by accident. You know what I mean? Or shoot your brother by intent. You're gonna hate me for a long time.
I'm gonna hate you for a very long time, but it's an accident.
Yeah, but
keyword dead. Accident.
Dude's dead.
If he's dead, no, I'm not. I can't forget that. No. if he lived, like if you accidentally shoot him in the leg, for example, and he came out okay, I mean, okay, I'd be mad for a while, but I'd forgive because the guy's still alive. But if you shoot him dead, I mean, bro, that shit's a life sentence, bro.
I mean, yeah, but say you don't forgive. Well, what do you do next? You gonna do the same thing?
No, you gotta. Better? But there's a difference between forgiving and moving on.
I think forgiveness is almost necessary most of the time for moving on.
I mean,
you can't really move on because if you move on without forgiving.
You can't.
No, the thing is, if you move on without forgiving, that means that you still have the person in your mind.
You still have a grudge.
Yeah, you still have a grudge.
have the
So
grudge.
eventually, when you see them, you're still gonna do something about it. Whereas if you forgive them, you're like, okay, I get you did something bad. I know you're a changed man or a changed person right now. So let's try and move past this, and I'll try and sort of, I'll try to bury this sort of anger I have. It's still there, but ultimately this anger is just gonna,
It ain't gone.
yeah, it's not gone. But I mean, it's impossible. I mean, it's almost impossible to completely bury an emotion. But it's sort of like,
You don't have control completely
Yeah.
over it either.
but ultimately it's gonna eat you alive. So it's like,
But you,
Yeah, it does. Doesn't it?
you're
It shoots
choosing
you
to
from the
act
inside, yeah.
with compassion over spite.
yeah.
I feel like is the key.
I guess I can see what you're saying. Yeah,
Essentially, it's
I
more
agree
towards
with you.
yourself. You should forgive them for yourself, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's living with the grudge, and you're the one who's sort of like,
So moving on and forgiving someone, you could say is dependent on each other.
yeah, it's kind of like a essential.
There's a correlation.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
essential for it. Like
Okay.
you can't really move on without, like,
Yeah,
oh, I
makes
hate
sense.
I hate this prick, but I'll move on. Like, it's impossible to do. You know what I mean, you'll still have him in your mind. Like, I want to kill him. I want to kill
Yeah,
him.
true. Because in your mind you're like, I hate this dude.
People move on from relationships, yet you know a lot of people that
Yeah.
still hold.
But they never forgave them because they did something horrible.
But yeah, but like,
After long enough, once they've found, usually it's after they've found a new relationship where they're
Yeah.
truly happy.
Mhm.
At that point, after truly believing in their own happiness and that they're in the right place now,
yeah,
they won't care anymore. They'll let go.
yeah.
True.
It might take a long time,
Mhm.
but they can if they finally find themselves through,
Yeah.
their own.
But it's more of an emotional growth. It's sort of like, say someone cheats on you and you're like really spiteful for it, but then in the end of the day, like, why? You know what I mean? Like, you're more important than this like
This
nonsense.
grudge or this
Yeah, I mean, it means nothing to you. It ultimately just slows you down. Like,
Mhm.
if you forget it, if you forgive it, you'd be like, okay, that should happen, and move on, and like actually learn from it, and potentially in the future, not fall for someone who's superficial or whatever, and actually look at the signs and learn from it. Then it's sort of a learning curve, if you will. It's like,
you feel heavy carrying that sort of
Exactly.
luggage. You need to be lightweight to be able to move around and go through life.
essentially,
I
yeah.
feel like you're carrying like boulders on the shoulders,
Oh yeah, exactly. So I feel, it's, so in that sense, it's sort of like it's almost a self cure, if you will.
It's
It's
a
very
remedy.
hard. It's very, very hard, but it's like it's kind
It's
of essential.
doable, but it's hard. Yeah,
But
it's
that's the
doable.
thing. A lot of hard things in life ultimately, benefit in the long term. So,
Of course.
long term, like hard struggle now will eventually give you a beautiful blossom in the future.
How poetic.
Oh my gosh, jeez.
It ain't easy if it's cheesy. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.